Hollow Knight Silksong, definitely a game of the year candidate. Let's see what they talking about with this here review. I feel like they're gonna get us a 10.
But it sure doesn't seem to have been burdened by
9
all
or
that
10.
pressure. It stays close to the formula that made its predecessor so impressive, but still reshapes, refines, and revamps just about every aspect of it in ways both big and small. Silksong is unapologetically challenging, endlessly creative, and impressively thoughtful across both its gorgeous world and the stories that are told there. The metamorphosis may have taken almost a decade, but this butterfly has emerged as
I heard that the developers, they put they had a fan who was drawing fan art, and I think they passed recently or something like that, and they put the character in the game. Was that the first game, or is that going to be this game? I'm not sure. I don't really follow the lore like that. I didn't play too much of the first Hollow Knight, which is my bad, because I should have been playing it.
Biggest and boldest around. If you never played Hollow Knight, the main thing you need to know is that you seriously missed out and may want to go back and do that first. Silksong is certainly enhanced by having done so, but your journey across the brand new world of Farloom as the wise and confident Hornet stands on its own merits either way. Hornet is an excellent hero, and the top-notch writing throughout lets you get to know her through conversations with a charming cast of characters I grew to love. They range from adorable to goofy to genuinely touching, with standouts like the singing pilgrim Sherma running that whole gamut over the course of their own personal arcs. The larger story is made more explicit as a result of Hornet actually being able to talk, which is to its benefit, but there are still plenty of mysteries hiding in the corners of this world for you to piece together yourself. Farloom is a fascinating place, a dying land where hopeful bugs go on a pilgrimage from its lower levels all the way up to the shining peak of a spectacular cogwork city called the Citadel, though few actually survive the trek you now inadvertently find yourself on. Its story is about being tested and overcoming, about leaving the world a better place than you found it even when that's hard to do, and about persevering while still making time to give yourself grace. One of the greatest strengths of games as a creative medium is how they can tie themes and actions together, and Silksong pulls off that trick very well. You'll experience its themes firsthand because, just like Hollow Knight, Silksong will test you. This game is tough with a capital T, although the specific word I prefer to use is challenging. It doesn't kick you to the curb just for the sake of being hard. It challenges you to overcome obstacles that routinely feel insurmountable at first, but are nicely tuned to be conquered as your skill, knowledge, and toolset of earned abilities improves. Perhaps an extreme example of this is an area like Bile Water, which has very few respawn benches to rest at and includes some of the most punishing poison water I've seen in any game. I thought this area was unreasonably difficult when I first tried to force my way through it. But then I took a break, explored elsewhere, and returned hours later with new items and a better game plan that made it way easier.
I've been up since 6 this morning. Really long day for me. But yeah, they lowered the difficulty level. I don't know if he's going to mention that they lowered the difficulty for some of the bosses, but like he said, this is one of those games where there's tools in the game. You could there's tools to help you get through the game. You just have to find those tools instead of complaining about difficulty. Coming into it knowing that it's going to be a difficult game. I don't know, that's always been weird to me. Like, people complain about a game that's difficult that they know is going to be difficult.
Farloom has so many branching paths that its roadblocks were able to feel substantial without killing my momentum. Rather than slamming your head against every wall you come across, Silksong is best approached by letting it come to you. You're never wasting your time by trying a different route, and you're routinely rewarded with useful upgrades and stunning sights alike. Every dial has been turned up to 11 visually. There's more color, more sparkle, and more variety. not to mention another truly incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, the music does go crazy. Dope compositions.
And whenever I thought I had finally found the limits of this map, I'd have to pick my jaw up off the floor as I stumbled into another new area with its own ecosystem, secrets, and hostile bugs. Those aggressive enemies and brutal boss fights follow the same go-with-the-flow philosophy as the areas around them. If you face them like this as a typical 3D action game, you might find yourself having a rough time. But if you treat Silksong like the platformer it really is, staying patient enough to focus on positioning while dodging and getting damage in where you can, then even its most savage enemies will start to melt. It's become a cliche to call combat a dance nowadays, but it truly is the best way to describe these encounters. I love finding my rhythm and identifying openings in a combat system that rewards spatial awareness over button timings alone. Another reason the haymakers Silksong throws did more to motivate than frustrate is because in the grand scheme of difficult action games, this one is actually pretty dang forgiving. A lot of credit for that goes to the healing system, which lets you spend Silk, a resource you earn by hitting enemies, to recover a big chunk of health all at once, even while mid-air. It's encouraging to know that you could always heal back up to full mid-fight if you can just stay alive and get enough pokes in. Silksong doesn't mess around, but it generally puts that lifeline within grabbing distance. Bosses have reliable windows to safely heal in, and platforming areas frequently throw weaker enemies at you to stock up your Silk. I don't think it's a coincidence that the areas with that poison water are pretty much the only ones where the more common enemies will respawn right next to you. It might test you with tall orders,
must be a later level.
But it also gives you the means to meet them. I truly love the way Silksong challenged me, though there are some aspects of how developer Team Cherry has balanced the difficulty that could leave a sour taste in my mouth from time to time. To be clear, I think the tuning is impressively dialed in overall. Outside of a couple late-game fights, I beat nearly every boss in a half-dozen attempts or fewer, usually taking just 2 or 3 tries, which felt like a sweet spot in terms of providing pushback without ever making me want to throw down my controller.
I forgot to put my camera on.
It is a little jarring how many enemies and environmental hazards deal damage in chunks of 2 instead of just 1 compared to the original Hollow Knight. It can result in feel-bad moments even if the quote-unquote difficulty isn't technically out of whack. Health upgrades arrive so slowly that it's just a little discouraging when your life total is functionally cut in half by a boss that only deals damage in pairs. A similarly rough feeling can be caused by a few areas that put their respawn benches extremely far apart. Desperately searching for a checkpoint teeters on that line between thrilling danger and what am I doing wrong here dread. However, this bench placement isn't done without regard. Just like a boss has to be learned and overcome, the challenge of these areas is surviving to find that bench. And finally doing so is as satisfying as taking down any big bug.
What do you get for it, though?
Silksong is a true blue platformer at its heart.
Is that like the saving? Is that like the bonfire, the stake of Marika? Like
precise movement options across devious spike-covered obstacle courses was a real treat. Silksong's expanded customization options give you more ways to tune your playstyle to your liking across both combat and platforming. You can unlock crests that change your basic attacks as if you were wielding an entirely new weapon. That might mean swapping the default diagonal down slash for the more vertically direct option provided by the Wanderer crest, or changing to the Beast crest for a claw-based attack that turns your burst heal into temporary lifesteal. My personal favorite was the Reaper crest, which has wide arcing attacks that knock extra Silk out of your foes after a heal. The new tool system that slots into these crests is also flexible in a way I appreciated a lot. In addition to equipable abilities that cost some Silk to use, all the tools you find are split into 3 color-coded categories. Red tools give you ammo-limited attacks like throwing knives, blue tools usually provide some sort of defensive effect like fire resistance, and yellow tools offer more general support options like marking Hornet's current location on your map. This separation is a notable improvement over Hollow Knight's single-slot system because support effects and combat buffs are no longer fighting for the same limited space. Each crest has a different balance of the color-coded slots your tools go into as well, letting you prioritize the stuff you find yourself drawn to. For example, I used tool weapons more often than the special silk abilities, so the drawback of the Architect crest, which swaps the silk slot out for a third red tool, ended up fitting my playstyle pretty nicely for a bit. There's not much incentive to swap between these crests once you've found the one you're most comfortable with, but they all feel different enough to provide some genuine playstyle decisions. Of course, you have to find all of these different options first, and the laundry list of things waiting to be discovered across Farloom is impressively extensive. When I finally reached the end, my in-game timer was at just over 44 hours played and 96% completion, and I'm still hungry to dive back in to clear off that last 4%. There is a bit of an odd bump in the middle of that enjoyable road, however, as you can beat Silksong much faster than that. I'm going to avoid specifics and spoilers here as much as possible, but this really does feel worth discussing in broad strokes. That's because the main objective path is actually fairly achievable, and the first time I reached the credits was before I even hit the 30-hour mark. But that initial ending is mediocre. It has an abrupt and unsatisfying conclusion to the story that left me more confused than fulfilled. There's very little indication you could reach a different one either, but you can. In vague terms, doing so requires you to complete a lot of entirely unrelated activities that are framed as completely optional. A lot of that is excellent stuff, but it also includes some pretty uninspiring fetch quests that ask you to grind pointless items, which feels like an uncharacteristic step backwards in a sequel that takes so many forward.
So you want to go for the completionist ending, not the short ending. Well, I mean, that's still a long ass game, 30 hours or 20 some hours. That's still, to me, that's still a long game. I feel like anything over 12, 15 hours, that's a long game to me. So please don't spoil it in the comments if you get to that point. I want to figure it out for myself. I do plan on playing this after I go back and beat Hollow Knight, so please don't spoil it in the comments.
This is a similar-ish structure to unlocking the true ending of the original Hollow Knight, but the big difference is that the requirements for doing so there were directly tied into your character's journey of discovery, and the path you had to take was a little more intuitive as a result. Here, I was essentially left floundering for a little bit as I tried to figure out which checkboxes still needed to be arbitrarily ticked off. Silksong conceals what feels like roughly 15 to 20% of its content behind this false ending too, and that stuff is so good. It's probably some of the best writing in the entire story, and it shakes things up gameplay-wise in a pretty delightful way I won't spoil. I recognize this weird structural decision.
So how you avoid that?
In the grand scheme of things, all of Silksong's secrets will be common knowledge soon enough, but it still feels like an odd choice.
So how do you even avoid that?
That all being said, it is legitimately cool.
And how would you know in your first playthrough if you didn't watch this review?
How any two people can take very different paths on the way there. It took me 35 hours to find an area a friend of mine found in less than 10, and I unknowingly took such an unusual route to reach Act 2 that I solved a special puzzle area and beat an incredibly fun boss way before I was supposed to, giving me access to an entirely different part of the Citadel than I expect most people will initially see. Splintering paths like this are all over the place, and it's genuinely incredible that Silksong can be approached from so many different directions without ever feeling like you're doing something wrong.
See, part of me, like the critique I have with that is like, if you're gonna have that many branching paths and all this other stuff, why don't you just make the game 3D? Like, that's a question I always have with Castlevania. Castlevania is one of my favorite series. But I always wonder why y'all made this big-ass, long-ass, box-shaped castle where you can only go up, down, left, or right when you could have just made a 3D game and made it look, I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining about nothing. I don't know. It's just something. I'm not even really complaining. I'm just wondering, like, why, like, that was the case.
Hollow Knight Silksong has managed to live up to my high expectations, taking a game I absolutely adored and quite literally turning its dash into a full-on sprint. It's bigger, more vibrant, and just as creative as the original, and it tweaks every system in largely smart ways. Some of its quests and an oddly structured finale do make small missteps, but Team Cherry has nailed the overall balance between satisfying 2D platforming, enticing exploration, and nail-biting combat in a way few games do. It's also unapologetically challenging,
I've been up since 6 in the morning.
In a way that can occasionally sting, but never feels unforgiving. It asks you to overcome the unbeatable and to leave the world a better place than you found it.
See, I told y'all, 9 or 10.
No
I told y'all.
Impossible that
9 or 10.
Senior guides producer.
All right, yeah, we not doing. I don't know why they do this. I don't know who watches that, but I don't. Hollow Knight, Silksong. We taking a look at the IGN review. They gave it a 9. I'm surprised to learn about all of the branching paths. Like I know like Metroidvania games have a lot of branching paths, but the way he was talking, it sounded like it's so crazy intricate that you can miss large parts of the end game. He said 15 to 20 hours you can miss. He said there's an ending you could get, but it's not really that fulfilling. There's an ending you can get like 20 to 30 hours in, and then there's like a true ending. Please do not spoil that for me. I plan on playing this game. If you do, like, try to explain it in a way where you're not spoiling the game for me. And if you can't do that, please don't explain it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. I do want to play the first one and get that out the way. I did play it, but like I didn't finish it before I get to this one. So we're gonna do that and get back to it. Yeah, so y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments. My fault. I'm nodding off and shit. But yeah, I just like when you want to grind, sometimes, you know, it be like that. So you already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. 1.